All right, listen. I kind of want to watch the end of this, but Emong's having his thing now with Jared, and I think we watched that.
So first of all, for anybody new
blog post?
or
Yeah, I asked
hasn't
Emong
met
to
Jared,
ask
this is
about
Jared
it.
Hughes, executive producer on Overwatch 2.
I decided to turn down doing it. I had just too much
You've
going on
probably
this
seen
week.
Jared in a lot
Plus,
of the fun interviews that you've
not
seen
in a good
recently.
mindset to probably do this right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to like hop on.
Jared has been awesome. Just a little bit of to talk about Jared for a second.
Talk about
Jared has been
bad
really
shit that's
good
going on and
at
the shit I don't like.
It's a lot of fun. And just basically will answer pretty much anything that Jared possibly can.
I just don't want to do it.
Reason.
I'm honestly kind of over it. If they want my thoughts on that kind of stuff,
stuff that I'm not supposed to. So
exactly.
And
yeah, executive producer is kind of a broad role. Like I do a lot of stuff related to sort of game strategy.
Rage. Yeah, I just didn't. I didn't want to like blindside with a bunch of like. You know what I mean?
We're struggling and need to.
I don't want to talk about like why balance has been really bad. I don't want to talk about like why things feel like they've been going downhill. I just don't want to do it. Honestly, I've been in a really good mood with World Cup. I think World Cup's been really fun. I want to keep it that way. You know, so I just want to listen to what they have to say.
What do we want to put out in a year or two?
And
okay, cool.
Kind of go from there.
Well, a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. You wouldn't believe how random the conversations I have are.
Can't wait for the last week when I'm trying to listen to comms.
It's about as random as it
gets. What?
So.
True. Yeah,
true. Let's get them out now.
Obviously, we have a bunch of questions we're going to ask. I'm probably going to be all over the place with where I go. I might start talking about PvE for 1 second. I might go to PvP for the next second, and we're just going to have fun with it, right?
Sweet.
Should I just start with the one question that I had at the beginning of this one, just because I'm just curious in this one? Okay, so obviously PvE is going to be something you have to buy. And I think something that a lot of people notice, unless this has changed, there was not an option just to buy it specifically. There was no, it's just a bundle. Why is that? And is there plans to eventually have it be more standalone for PvE?
It's a really good question. The thing that I'll say, like with every answer that I ever give, is because this is the first time that we're doing this, like everything that we do in the future sort of hinges.
Cage match, all the rage with Overwatch League with Jaws.
The way that
dude, I don't even know if I want to get into it, man. I got into it yesterday a bit.
And so
because Shade was in here yesterday
at the outset.
I kind of got baited yesterday.
The reality of being
talking
a free
about
game is that like we're always trying to find this balance between.
I don't know. I just don't see them. I don't even see it doing anything. You know what I mean? I'm kind of just over it.
And funding future development for the game. So like, you know, we love doing this stuff that's coming out in Overwatch 2 Invasion. We love doing the stuff that we release every season. The vast majority of what we release is.
But I'm down to talk for at least a bit.
This is a situation where we're like, okay, we want to have this big release. These story missions are bigger than anything that we've done in the game before. They have amazing cinematics all over the place. They have like a level of quality that I think is really outstanding. And
where's the passion? Passion's kind of dying, my guy.
In a way that like gives them maximum value.
The passion's kind of dying, dude.
And so
unfortunately,
what we started talking about was like, well, as a premium add-on.
I'm going past the point of being upset about things to the point of not caring.
Battle Pass, and then for a few extra bucks, you also get access to this stuff, and then we'll see what people think. But we wanted players to have as much optionality as they could have. So instead of being like a battle pass type thing, we're like, well, what if we give you 1,000 coins, we give you a dope skin, and then we're going to give you these story missions. And so this is the first attempt at us doing something like this again. So feedback is welcome. It's not to say that we would never consider doing a standalone thing, or for future story missions, or like bundling everything up as one offering.
The real answer to this is the reason why there's a bundle is they want to try to make it more enticing.
The option that they want.
Like it's going to be the same thing that happened with the same. It's the same thing that happened to the Kiriko bundle. Everyone was mad about the $30 bundle, and they wanted to buy the skin standalone. So what they did is they made you could buy the standalone skin for $19.
I have seen that feedback from a lot of people.
Then they made bundles $19, and then you could either buy the skin by itself for $19 or the bundle for $19.
It's like
it was a very deliberate move. And I gave them the benefit of the doubt. I was like, oh, it's just a bug. They're gonna fix it. They never fixed it. The reason there's a bundle is to try to entice you more. If they ever did a standalone product, they'd probably charge you the same amount. That's the true answer. Realistically, that is the real answer.
And it also sounds like
it sounds like shit, but that's the true answer.
You give more feedback on this first.
Tell us what you think.
All right, now we're gonna go into a bunch of questions we have here about random stuff. Some of it's from me, some of it's from chat. I asked chat yesterday some questions. We're just gonna start right away. So, a little bit more into hero progression, right? Like, what stats is it looking for? You can go with any random example of a hero you want to go through with like hero progression. Yeah, like what is like. How does it specifically work with all that? I'm just curious. Like, what is like? Give me like an example of like a hero and how that would work with a hero.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. But there's a lot there. So generally speaking, for any hero that you're playing, we're looking at a mixture of things, right? So we want to look at sort of like general stats, things that you would get for just playing normally. So like eliminations or assists or whatever.
Okay.
But then, we also have hero specific stats. So for like Ana, if you're sleeping people, like we're paying attention to that. If you're doing it successfully, like we want to lead into the things that make you an effective player of that hero without like dictating the specific way to play that hero. And so a lot of it's about identifying these stats that we think are just generally good if you're playing a hero. Like if you're playing Reinhardt, there's certain things that, regardless of your Reinhardt playstyle, are probably pretty beneficial to your team. And so we want to capture those. And then we want to have some general stuff that you just get as a byproduct of playing the game, right? So it's a lot more in depth than sort of just like time played or like the system in Overwatch 1 was. But also it does kind of recognize the way that you play that hero, and you can see you're like individually leveling up these stats that then feed into your hero level, that then feed into your overall player level. And I think it's awesome. Like I'm super excited about it, especially as a support player. I will take all the recognition that I can get for doing literally anything. And so yeah, it's sick.
Yeah, I think like having any type of progression added to the game was going to be something that was needed, obviously, since the release of Overwatch 2, to like having that type of hero progression and ways to do things in game are obviously key. I'm looking forward to it just because obviously I play a lot of different heroes, so being able to progress those heroes and kind of see how that goes. I'm sure it's way more even advanced than what we were just talking about. Once you see like the actually in game, which I'm sure we'll see some of that soon.
It's a lot. I was looking at it before this call actually, and there's a lot there. There's a bunch of cool stuff to earn, but like, but really we want it to be about like recognition of the time that you spend and the way that you play. So I think people will love it, and there's a lot of room to like expand.
20 minutes. I appreciate it.
Okay, that's awesome.
Birthday,
this
my
next
friend.
one's just like a random question
Hey,
I had
Flats,
because I just
today is my birthday today, and I wanted to give some of my money to my favorite streamer. Love you.
Yo, check. I'm gonna feel his birthday, man, for St. Master with the 20.
Are those gonna be in the Hero Mastery, or is that just like a dev version of it that?
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
There?
It's a good question. I'm actually not sure where we landed on keeping them in there long term. I mean, I think the damage numbers are like a carryover from when there was power growth in the game, during development. And so because you have power growth, like any game that has power growth, you want to see the result of that. But it's also potentially helpful in Hero Mastery, and so it's kind of a question of like, do we keep these things there? Do we take them out? And honestly, I don't know where we landed. I think it's the kind of thing that we can change pretty easily, and so we'll roll them out and see what folks think.
Okay, so yeah, I just like the idea of damage numbers because usually, like, in order to find that information, you have to go to the training range, understand what the HP of somebody is, etc., or go on like a website to find it. So
100%.
Having that in game now is just I like it. Obviously, I play MMOs too and stuff, so like seeing damage numbers can be fun. But I was just curious.
I mean, I've been playing a lot of Diablo, dude. Like I totally.
Oh yeah, Diablo.
I'm a damage number.
I just read.
I am too. I love it. It is. I'm not sure if this one was answered. It might have been answered in one of like the questions, but people have still been asking, so I was going to ask it anyway. Will we be playing Flashpoint right away in competitive, or will we be waiting a little bit for that to go up?
As of right now, you're going to be waiting a little bit.
Okay.
This is another interesting one. I mean, I think we've talked about why that is the past,
exactly.
Right? Like we want it to be there immediately, but also like it's a brand new mode.
I don't think they're going to get any good data until then, though.
And so getting the
people aren't going to. I don't think people are going to play quick play looking to play the new game mode that often.
And then ruins a bunch of people's day because there's something we didn't.
But yeah, it is probably smarter to at least do like 2 weeks.
And that's why you see it with the
definitely
new
kills
hero.
hype for it.
Sometimes if you put it into comp right away, which is interesting though, because a little bit of a side note on that. I know sometimes the new map will just go live right away onto comp, and then people have no idea what's going on in those maps too. So it's interesting how that works.
It's a good point. I don't know that we have the perfect balance of like holding things back and working out the kinks and then putting them in. But like it's you would be surprised how much it is still discussed internally, like what we should do about this. Because there's a lot of people that are just like, put it in there day one, like let's just go and work through it. And then there's a lot of people like me, to be totally fair, who are like, actually, can we just like make sure we're in a good place before this gets rolled into there and be a little bit less, aggressive with it? And it's always it's always a balancing act.
It's actually interesting because I'm on both sides of that.
I see it all the time. You know what? Even
I actually think that it kills hype by not putting it in right away.
You're gonna have that person.
But obviously, you have people that get really mad if it's broken on launch.
I'm
like, I lost comp points because this game mode's broken. It's like
it's different things that happen, but I get why it happens and it makes sense because if you go right into ranked and I mean, you actually like, for example, if you like put Ramattra in ranked right away from like day one, Ramattra was so different later on because first version of Ramattra being released was like you were basically slow as molasses when you went into Nemesis form. You couldn't do anything. So,
I mean, even a better example is Lifeweaver, right?
Yeah.
Like, look at how many changes we made to Lifeweaver over the last 2 seasons, and it's
still trash though.
Yeah, very different experience.
Bitey Ducky, thanks to the Prime.
I guess I have a follow-up question to that. Is there going to be a different approach to the next new hero with the release of the new hero? Is there like more of like we should make this hero a little bit stronger to start? And
everyone's things as soon as possible until they fall through the world because someone forgot to put a soul collider on the ground. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
The approach is always like just to say it out loud. The approach is always that like a new hero is viable to pick at launch. Like you never want like it's a throw pick or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're like, let's just make it a throw pick. Have fun.
Yeah. So you don't want to like put something in super underpowered, but also like I think there's something really gross about games that are like we're gonna put a new hero in the game and it's gonna be just like super OP for 3 months to like really drive people to like buy it or do the thing or whatever.
Oh, Kark, you tweeted it.
We don't want to go that route.
It's public now.
And I think what you've seen in previous hero releases is like we haven't had a great grasp of exactly where like viable and balanced.
Don't care as much about this at the moment.
And there's been good examples of that and some bad examples of that. I think we learned a lot from Lifeweaver, and so
made a quick trip to Blizzard to playtest PV Season 6 PV story mission. Flashpoint for Overwatch 2 Season 6. My early thoughts, and then he puts his thoughts after. We'll have to look.
Right, so it's like, is it about getting more people from outside of the team in to play and give us additional perspectives, or about like getting things play tested with the broader audience early on, like before we would normally be comfortable? There's a bunch of different approaches, and I think we'll try some stuff and see what happens.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, even like a hero like Jungle Queen, like if you play Jungle Queen during the beta, Jungle Queen is way different than Jungle Queen was even at full release. Like there wasn't this like fun carnage resets and all this different stuff. So the heroes can always improve and get better with that. Okay, I was just wondering on that one.
All good.
Next one, speaking of new hero, and this is, I have to just ask, can we get anything on the new hero? And this one's, I think is for Somnus on this one. Is the new hero cute?
Ooh, so the cute thing is funny because like, I mean, every hero is potentially cute from your perspective. You know what I mean? Like, it just depends on who you are and what you value in cuteness. So I would say all of them are probably cute. We have a bunch coming up. You know, we have the new Overwatch 2 Invasion hero that we've teased. Aaron actually teased some concept from their origin story today. That one we'll be talking about really soon, so I won't say anything about that. We have another hero coming after that I'm really excited about. I think everyone's going to be really excited about. And I won't say much about that hero.
That's fine.
Yeah, I don't know. We have some cool stuff coming up next year too. I know you're trying to dig up dirt, but I want to stay grounded about them. So we'll see.
If we're doing a Q&A and an interview, you got to at least try, right? Like at that point, like, you know, somebody's we go new hero. I got to try, right? Like,
you know what? I totally appreciate that you're doing it.
I have this one on here too about when's the new cinematic? We've been hearing about the new cinematic coming up soon. When is the new cinematic? Is there an announcement date? It's coming soon, or is it going to be out at a certain time?
Specifically the one, sorry, because we like just announced that miniseries. You're talking about the one that we announced for season 5.
Yes, for season 5. I was just curious because I know it's probably closer to season 6, but the miniseries is a whole different. That looks awesome.
It is, and also I don't know that we've talked about the specific date yet. It is coming closer to season 6, so it's not. You shouldn't expect it with the mid-season patch. And I think we'll have a date for it really soon. I know when it's going to come out, and it's hyped, and it leads really well into Overwatch 2 Invasion. So that's why it's kind of like on hold until later in the season. And I think we'll be talking about the date really soon because we're getting close to the end of that season.
That makes sense. Actually, now that we're talking about Genesis for a second too. How long? It says it was going to be a mini series. Is there like do we know the timing on how much?
I saw the photo.
When you say we, do you mean? Yeah, I mean I do. It is. So I think you know I've been looking at people's reactions to it. I'm hyped. The team is hyped when we showed them. I think there's like people are all over the place with how big it's going to be. It's a mini series of relatively short videos. So you know these aren't going to be like 30-minute episodes or anything like that. They'll be shorter than that. But when you put them all together, they add up to like a pretty meaningful story that really sets up, again, in a very different way, sort of the history of the Omnic Crisis and the events.
Miniseries is successful. Hope they're working on a longer one. Agreed. Overwatch could have actually a really good story.
Numbers, but like shorter.
That's
shorter
why
than
I was excited for PvE. I thought it'd be cool,
but not like a not like a
reading this Karki tweet is interesting.
That's good to know. Yeah, I mean, anytime I see anything like. I've been talking about wanting like an anime or like a show forever with Overwatch.
Yeah.
There's so much. Obviously, there's gonna be so much lore which we're gonna see and start in season 6. But like, it's just we've seen a lot of really cool
it's like
shows.
wild how much we want to do this stuff too. Like I think because when we show things to the team for the first time, even when they're early, like you can just see that every single person is so hype on the idea of us like building out the world and doing more, like anime or like stuff like shows like people keep asking for, like that stuff that we really are super excited about, like seeing if we can do and things like this miniseries are a good chance for us to test the waters and see what folks like and what they don't like.
Awesome. Yeah, it looks really, really, really cool. So I am looking forward to that. Okay, so another thing here, and I'm sure it's been touched on, but I remember like a while ago there was talk about like the PvE missions and how like you couldn't solo queue that. So I have a couple questions with that. One, can you solo queue it and not have to you don't have to wait on people? And what I mean by solo queue is you don't have to just sit there and wait an hour and a half for people. And then a second question to that, somebody asked yesterday, and they wanted to know if you could ever just load into a custom game and load in with people yourself if you wanted to, even though that would.
So custom games, no. Okay. So solo queue also no, but it's not exactly as bad as what you're describing. So the idea here with having these be match made is that you queue up, you play whatever. This is the common refrain of the game because it's true. Like Overwatch is a game that is best played with other people, like with friends who are friendly. And I'm not gonna tell you that getting into a match with like Dank Lord 420 is the best experience in the world when you're like really trying to get the story vibes through this thing. So totally understand that may be something that a lot of folks aren't really that excited about.
Yeah.
But I do think the part where you play it, especially on higher difficulties, is made meaningfully better by playing with other human beings. So the goal here is you queue up, you get match made with other folks. If there's no one else that's looking for a match at that time, like if it's way past release or if it's in the middle of the night or whatever it is, you're not gonna have to wait an hour. Like we'll put you in with bots relatively quickly.
Okay.
And when I say relatively, I mean like pretty quickly. It's not it's on the order of like minutes, not anything more than that. Going forward is a good question. Like I brought this up, a bunch of people have brought this up. Like, is this the right approach? Do we want to give people that option? Do we want to do that later after the initial launch when they can play with people? There's a bunch of different perspectives on it. And so, again, this is one where we're starting here because I think it's great to play these with other people, especially when you're playing harder stuff. But, if what we realize is people just really want to be able to play at their own pace, slow down, check the stuff out, then we'll reconsider. It's totally cool.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious because I know that was a discussion initially when more PvE news came out that you couldn't actually get in there. So knowing that it's minutes is probably a good thing that you can at least get into there and not have to wait forever, especially when you hear about matchmaking. And I also do think you might have a good time with Dank Lord 420 though. It could be a fun game.
I mean, sometimes you do, but sometimes they just AFK at the beginning because they're off doing whatever. And it's
they're vibing. Right, well,
yeah, exactly. And I'm just I guess I just sit here now and wait for. I'm on your time. Let's do your thing.
I get it.
How long until we see an alt account named Dank Lord 420? Thoughts?
So I remember on the reveal stream recently, it was talked about how some of the maps that were Flashpoint were initially going to be 2CP, if I'm correct, if that's right. Or there was a map that was they took inspiration from it and then it became a Flashpoint map. Obviously, there's a constant discussion about what is going to happen to previous 2CP maps. Is there a look at some of those previous maps and going, hey, these have become Flashpoint maps now? So it may not be Hanamura, but you could take a lot of base of Hanamura and make it into a Flashpoint map or something like that. So.
Yeah, really good question. So Hanamura is the literal example that we use internally all the time because we all love Hanamura and want to bring that back. Will we bring those 2CP maps back? That's not something that we're going to do right away or anything. It's not the focus. But will we use sort of the things that people loved and the
right away
effectively for those maps in other ways? Yeah, absolutely. If we're talking about Hanamura specifically and how we can bring that world back into the game in a way that's as dope as the original was. And so
what is the point of a rush at this point?
Not coming back in the 2CP form exactly, but those are places that we want to get back to, and I think we'll. I feel pretty confident that we will.
I think people will be happy to hear that. It's a constant discussion about how, obviously, for a lot of people the way 2CP.
Just go back to 222.
Ideal, but
just do it.
Yeah, it didn't not
fucking pull the trigger, man.
But there's no denying
just
the
pull
maps
the
are
trigger.
beautiful and have a lot of really cool aspects of
Put
them.
in some random shield update so you can't have more than one shield.
For what it's worth, I miss them too. Like we talk about this, and I was never a 2CP supporter. Like just as a player before I had anything to do with this team.
Just rip the whole thing off at this point.
No shade on the people that developed it, but
rip the band-aid
off.
But
I do love those maps, and I want to be in that world again.
Okay. I just have a random side question that I probably can ask. Will PvE have replays or something like that? Can you actually watch a replay code of it?
I don't think we're going to support replays.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just saw that. I was like, oh, that's actually kind of a good question.
It is a good question.
Okay, so I talked about this a little bit now too. Gibraltar. So Gibraltar had a recent map change, and I like them. I like that there's been aggressive map changes finally. It's something we haven't seen since, I want to say, Eichenwald, which was, Eichenwald's release was years ago. Is there plans to continue to look at maps that have, whether it's sightline issues,
the answer is yes,
but chokes, etc., to create more of those aggressive map changes?
Yes.
Perfect.
Is the answer. I think Ryan Smith, our lead level designer, had said, I think on Twitter, like, yeah, this is the thing that we want to do more of. Like, this is, I think everyone was really excited about it. I feel like everyone responded pretty well to it. I haven't seen a lot of like Gibraltar hate recently. So yeah, for sure. We will revisit older maps.
I was really happy with it just because Gibraltar for years had that issue where like you just got stuck on certain parts of the map. So it's good to see that. It looks cool too.
Yep.
Read like a book. I know all these answers because I've
obviously hero missions.
I've kept up with every dev blog that's been released for the last since Overwatch 2 came out and before that. It's kind of why I didn't want to be on this. I kind of know what the answers are.
Yeah, this is one where the answer is probably not super satisfying, but I'll give you the reasoning behind it. So exactly how long between TBD? Like we have a target. Like I have a date in my mind that is a specific season where I'm like, that is where we would do more. But the reality is like we want to see what people think about these first, and like we have a bunch of stuff in development, so it isn't like we're starting from scratch. But what we want to be able to do is see like, do people love these in the way that we think that they will? If there are things that are missing, what are those, and can we make sure that next release has those? Like we've been playing internally a lot and gotten a lot of feedback from the team on things that. At this point, it's like, well, we can't do it now, but for future ones, that would be amazing. And I think if what we see is the community's feedback starting to line up with what the team is really excited about doing, then we'll incorporate that. So, don't expect the next round, in the next season or the season after that or anything like that. But it is very much like trying to find that balance between getting them in front of players quickly because we love story stuff, and giving ourselves enough time to actually like make changes or add features or do whatever. To make them more compelling. The like hard part about developing a game like this is the stuff that we build is done so far in advance from when it actually ships, or it's like 90% done so far in advance that like it takes a while, and like we can't just get feedback on like the day that we release the story missions and then have it ready for the next season or something like that. So it'll be a little bit of a delay between however we continue the story exactly next. But that will be heavily informed by the feedback that we get on this first round of missions.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious on that one. I know a lot of people are like, okay, so then when's the next one? Because you're going to get that right away, too. It's like, when's the next one? Yeah.
And to be fair, like, there's a bunch of stuff that we want to do next year that we're already in development on next year that will, like, fill the gaps if, that people will have in between. So I think, like, we're trying to make it so that it doesn't feel like, and then there's nothing for this long extended period of time. It's more like there's this cool thing, and there's this other narrative thing, and there's this other narrative thing, and like we keep like telling interesting stories and moving that all forward.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense then.
Cool.
Next one here I have is there? This is kind of like a short one, but is there going to be like a leaderboard type of thing for like the new like Kings Row PvE thing we're seeing? Like, is there going to be like a leaderboard style we've seen with other like things?
So for this one, there won't be, but that's not. I wouldn't take that as an indicator of the future. The reason, or like kind of the thought process behind this is that again, doing something sort of differently.
The PvE mission isn't going to have leaderboard. The one that's not replayable.
We're gonna take. Let me say, we're taking a slightly different approach to replayability for this one.
We have changes that we want where like love your dude.
It's literally going to be a one-time playthrough, and then that's it.
But you find out what. Okay,
holy
great. So,
shit!
Like our I just lose track of.
Yeah, it's okay. I remember that specifically because that's why I also wondered about leaderboards and like all that. Yeah.
Yeah. So for this one, no. For
That's
this one, it's
like
gonna be about,
that is full that is full casual because the average casual player is never gonna make it on a top 500 leaderboard.
I feel
That's
pretty strongly
only for
that
the
going
really
forward, we
really
do want
dedicated,
leaderboards
sweaty
in these, and that should just
streamers
be an
and
ever-present
fucking
part of anything that we do
amazing
that
good
is,
players.
That is
The
cooperative.
casuals are never gonna make it on that leaderboard.
So
It's
I would
not for
expect
us.
that for any future sort of
Holy.
like, but this one won't have it.
Okay. Yep. I was just wondering on that one. I mean, you'll always be talking about leaderboards.
Your favorite people don't chase leaderboards, yeah, but it doesn't have any. It's just one mission though that doesn't have any replayability. Like it's not.
my language. I love it.
Oh, that's so bad.
Yeah, you got Mythic Plus.
Oh, that's so
I'd
bad.
love to see the idea, or maybe eventually that evolve it into that. So,
Totally.
All right, so now I'm going to go a little bit more. Yesterday I asked Chad a little bit about questions too and like what they would like to see. The first one here I think is, I know Fitzy's going to love this. I'm going to ask about Sombra rework, and then we're obviously going to ask about Hog rework. Are we going to see any of this in Season 6? Are we going to see more of that later on? How's that going?
I think I'd have to check. So whenever, this is the funny thing about asking about heroes. Our game is so much about heroes that you would expect that you could get on the executive producer and be like, Jared, what's happening with this thing? And the reality is I defer so much to Alec Dawson and Aaron on this stuff that like I want to make sure that they have the chance to talk about these things and like really roll out like when are they coming, how are they going to look, like what's the intent behind it. So we'll talk about when we can reveal sort of like Hog and Sombra updates, but there's a bunch of cool stuff happening. I don't know, like but this is really a thing for Alec.
That basically means if they're not ready to talk about it at this point, we're probably looking at least season 8, season 7 or season 8.
Yeah.
If it was season 6, it would be ready to go.
God,
you don't have to do it.
And it launches in like a month and a half.
Sombra is not.
They could talk about it now. It'd be almost done.
I'll say
if it's not done, if it's not even close, then
believe we're not season 6.
Probably 4, 5, 6 months.
But I think it's shortly thereafter.
That's fine. I know it's been such a Sombra, Roadhog, etc. So I had okay, good to know.
Hey, I have social media. I see it. Trust me.
Honestly, I don't even know if I want reworks after what the May and Cassidy ones are. Jesus.
A good question I had on this one: are we going to see any collab events back soon?
Like Quinn thinks in 13 months for shooting.
Maybe after that. I mean, that might be a difficult one to answer, but.
One that I cannot answer definitively. What I will say,
I don't think they legally can answer that one.
Loved the One Punch collab. I think players loved the One Punch collab. We're excited to consider more of those in the future, and if
even if there was one in the works, they legally probably couldn't say anything about it.
Super long for that to happen.
Okay. I think people are going to be excited about that. I mean, collabs it was really cool seeing that collab. Like I absolutely loved it. So.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing for us, like just to say it out loud, and I think maybe Dion has said this before, but like it's like kind of tough when you have a world like Overwatch with heroes like Overwatch where you don't really want to like take them out of the spotlight in a way that like minimizes them, but also like showing affinity for these partners, let's say, that like the team loves, that we're excited about, that we think our heroes would like if they were in real life.
Dude, this tweet is
something that we want to do, but we need to do delicately, right? So it's about finding that balance between like really putting something out there that we think is cool and that we're excited about, but also like not trying to turn our game into something that it's not. Like it's still about the world of Overwatch. It's still about the heroes of Overwatch at its core.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I remember we had the discussion. I think it was about during Mr. Heroes Tuesday, where we were like, "Oh, how cool would it be to have like a Lord of the Rings collab and things like this? You can come up with really cool ideas."
Yeah, I get it's funny. There's like the ideas that the team has, and they are like hype. They're super hype. There's a bunch of stuff that I think would be incredible. And now it's just about like doing it in a way that we think does Overwatch justice.
Yeah, that would be awesome. All right. Speaking of like, I mean, I'm not really speaking of that, but like more like, is there like a hint of like what the theme of the season 6 battle pass is? I know it's going to be like an invasion story, but obviously like usually you're starting to get back into more theme based.
Yeah, like that is so. I will. I don't know if we've announced this, but I'll say, not surprisingly, the theme of the invasion battle pass is Overwatch 2 Invasion.
There you go.
It's really about. It is about this sort of, well, it is very heavily centered on the story that we're starting to tell in that season, and so I won't give any details about it, but like there's a lot of really great stuff that's in there that directly ties or like pays homage to kind of the story that's being told and the conflict that crops up at the beginning of that story.
I imagine it'll make a lot more sense when you actually see like the hero missions and like what kind of how that works out with the battle pass like theme stuff. Yeah.
As soon as you see the story missions and the cinematics,
I thought the Quest Watch Battle Pass was good.
Okay, yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
but
I don't think it was a bad thing.
It's a little bit tough to talk
I thought it was
about,
nice
around it before we've really.
Totally understandable.
Actually, my personal opinion, I think the Season 5 Battle Pass might have been the best Battle Pass so far.
You might not be able to answer,
but it was really overshadowed by a lot of the sad news about PvE and stuff.
Oh.
And a lot of the good stuff in Season 5 being pushed to the second half of the
season. I had a long conversation 2 weeks ago with our lead gameplay engineer about this.
Okay, I'll give you that. The story, I didn't even click on it. The story was ass.
I'll give you like a really high level.
I didn't even read it. I did not read it.
Yeah.
I see the.
I'll give you that, sure. But I thought the battle pass itself was good.
Without going into a ton of detail, the issue is that sort of the tech being used was this like shared technology with another hero. There's some issues with it that make it more challenging for Kiriko than for the other hero that uses it. And so there's like we tried some bug fixes, and those bug fixes like sort of improved it, but it's still very much a problem.
Okay.
And so the effort that has to happen now is like a rewrite of the teleport logic, which we're now that we know that and are doing it, like it'll be fixed and it'll be in front of players. But I wanted people to know that it wasn't like we were not doing anything. It was just like, well, can we make these fixes to like get it to where it needs to be without doing this like huge amount of work to like totally redo the thing. And now we're at the point where it's I think we have to do a little bit more of a fundamental rewrite of some of that logic before we can call it fixed. So it's being worked on.
Lone Rabbi, thanks. Appreciated.
Exact timeline I don't have in front of me, but I don't think it'll be super long.
All right. I mean that's good to know. I think a lot of people were always wondering because